Hello everyone and welcome to something a little bit different today. So this is the Beginner's Guide by Davey Wreden, creator of the Stanley Parable. It came out on Steam a couple of days ago, and if you're interested in playing it for yourself, I think it's currently 20% off, but even without the discount it's like $5. So I was playing through this yesterday and I realized about halfway through that this is something that I really want to share with people. And this might be a little bit self-indulgent, and I already know this is going to be a very long video. It's going to be about 90 minutes because that's about how long it takes to play this game start to finish, and it's not something where you can really take breaks. You need to sort of sit down and commit to it. But I think it's an important game. I think it's a game that will speak to a lot of people, particularly if you're someone who's ever made any kind of a creative endeavor. You should find it touching you on a very personal level. And I can tell you that if you're not going to be into it in the first 5 or 10 minutes, then it's probably not going to grip you at all. So don't think of it as too big a commitment. Now, if you've played this game yourself already, or if you've seen someone else play it, what I want to do is get my thoughts down on it. I'm actually going to do that in a separate video. I want this video to be about the game very much speaking for itself. I'm going to keep the commentary to a minimum. So like I say, if you've already experienced this, then feel free to skip this and just check out the next video on my own thoughts and reflections. That said, if you're in for the ride, thank you very much. Like I say, I'll try to keep my own commentary to the minimum and let Davey speak for himself. And with that, we are going to jump straight into it. And hopefully I've got closed captions on here.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Wreden. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment.
Now this is CS Dust,
what I
I think.
is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at davey WREDEN@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
I do have full control here, by the way. Warning, whisper machine, status active, evacuate immediately.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Obviously can't go that way.
You can click to fire the gun.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Oh, that's great. Looks awfully out of place, doesn't it? Oh?
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it.
Of course.
Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Okay, alright. There's a labyrinth in it.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead. The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
I think it was interesting how Davey gave us a couple of different interpretations there for that beam, and basically conceded that he wasn't actually sure. So we can't walk forwards.
Yep. In this game, you can only walk backwards.
We can't strafe either. The past was behind her.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Why does the future keep changing? When she stops and looks, it becomes clearer. But if the future is always behind her, how will she find the strength to confront it?
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Well, we can walk forward in this one. You are now entering.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
It's starting to slow down here.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press the use key on your gamepad, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
I'm kind of tempted to play it properly, you know, but no, I'm gonna, for the sake of the recording, I'm sure you guys will get the message. Now, what is this? What is this? Stand on an X staring at a bear for 3 hours. A game where you collect items, except the game automatically quits when you collect them all.
And nice, and filled with little ideas for games.
A game of only posters and
Coda would
concept
often
art
tell
showing
me
what the
that he
game is
didn't
intended
mind
to
if
be.
People thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Now, that last game was interesting because it didn't seem to really want to be shared with anyone, did it?
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Alright, well of course I do know the solution to this, guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. We open the switch, hit the switch again to close the door. We run into this weird, smoky, nothing space in the back of the door.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're going to see it a lot.
And 3 dots.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again, so that when you press the Use key on your gamepad, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Holy
How
shit.
about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
You are now exiting.
So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is. Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Can we jump? Oh. I don't think I've got a jump button, guys. I feel like I could have taken that a bit more slowly. I can't walk into the middle here. Now this is a bit of a Foucauldian panopticon, isn't it?
In Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
You know, we're going back down?
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't. It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Listen. You there, did you come up
Here, Coda
from
begins
up
using
above?
a kind of dialogue
What was
system
up
that he
there?
fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the buttons on your gamepad to respond.
Yes, there was a world stamped with whiteness. Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Yes, there were these floating colored blocks. Well, they were all true, so which one gripped us the most? I should think about that for a minute. Which one out of these three do you think that you responded most closely to? I'm gonna go with number 2. Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. That's the world above. You've been there. Now this is important. Did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? Yes, I did. That was literally the last thing I should say I did before coming here. No, I don't remember having to go through any puzzle, or I'd prefer not to tell you after all we've only just met. I'm gonna go with option 3. What? But you don't understand. We are trapped here. That puzzle is our only escape. We need to get through it. You think you want to get through, but trust me, you don't. Let me describe it to you. Let me tell you all about what is over there. Or, alright, I'll tell you how to solve it. I think I'll let them make their own decision. Let me describe it for you. No, that isn't possibly enough. I need to be actually there. I cannot simply be told what it is. I must see it myself. I must escape this prison. There must be an ending. Hello, how did you get here? Was there a puzzle that you had to pass through? What is here? Yes. Do you want to know how to solve it? No, we actually find the black space between the doors to be far more interesting. Have you seen it yet? Actually, now that you mention it, I remember feeling strange as I passed through it. Don't think too hard about it. You'll see it again soon. That's it? Okay.
and so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Nice room, not. Alright, so we got a bit of Dark Souls here.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda.
No
This was
point to
actually
this.
the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention.
Can you guys hear me?
I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very
Hello.
patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
Reasonable.
Oh, feel free to skip over any
you
of
say
these
so.
notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way,
Everyone
to me
read
they
this.
convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played. But it's ironic, isn't it, that in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
A free t-shirt. I don't know why that's funny. This is getting dark, isn't it? Now, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but I think they're important, and I think the general through message here is important. All right. And there's some modern art which compels us to try and interpret it, as modern art seems to be all about, right? That's an interesting salient image here. What's to think about that as well? Did you?
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on. And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
Are you there? Please say something. It can be anything. I just needed to say something. Please talk to me. Speak, 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 speak.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
There's a well. We're in a prison. Sort of makes you think of the art piece in one of those last rooms, yeah. Same photo. He's a very clever architect, whatever else he is. Maybe with space and light. And what is this?
This is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison.
Oh, we're
He's
in the
gonna
world.
start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Same room. What furniture ought to go in the center of the room? A giant hole in the ground, please. No? Let's put a huge picture of a horse. Oh, you think we should light up the room a bit? Yeah, let's put live Tesla colors in each corner because it doesn't fucking matter. You're just gonna do whatever you want. Yeah. And a table, you need to say, we got a table. Pretty sure none of my choices are making any difference.
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake.
I'm not sure I agree with that, Davey.
So, okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Hello, please walk forward. Can I do that this time? Oh, look, I can. I can walk forward. This guide will enable you to escape any prison environment. Follow the instructions carefully. Take care that you remember each step. First, click on this table. Wow, I love the reflection on the floor there. Weird thought. Click on this table. There's 3 dots there. Okay. Click on the table. Good. Go over to the photo frame and click to turn it slightly. Now turn the floor lamp in this room off, then turn it back on. Okay. Now go to the left side sofa, move it over a little. Finally touch the shelves. That's it. In a real prison, the escape will now open. Return to the start to be taken back to your prison. Alrighty.
And
Does
of
that
course,
well?
now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this. To see a person basically unraveling through their work.
It's a
And
puzzle.
for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop. That particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going. And then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Where have I come from? No way of knowing. Alright. There's our lamppost and a phone box. Are we leaving the Matrix? Is that what's happening here? Alright. Hello? Who is this? Hey, it's me. I'm you from after you escaped the prison. Alright. You're me. So you were trapped in this prison too? Yeah, I was...
Conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Escape tutorial, talk to me. I'm gonna go with that one. That's where I am right now. Oh, I'm so glad to know that I get out eventually. What's it like to escape? Feels like being completely still and wildly in motion at the same time. Sometimes I'm scared I'll get out and then things will be exactly the same as before. No, I'm really the same person now as I was back then. This is a difficult one for me. Oh no, that's awful. That's the worst thing I can imagine. Well, you get something else in exchange. The problem is that you don't actually know who you are right now. I'm going with number 2. Wait, if you're me, then did you get a call from another version of you when you were trapped? No, I think I'm the first person to call back. And can you tell me how to get out? Maybe I can come find you. What do I have to do? To get out, all you have to do is be sincere. Tell me how you feel right now, or just talk with me for a bit. I'm going for number 1. What? That will free me? How does that work? Listen, you can't know until you're out, but I promise it works. Sincere about what? That's exactly what you need to figure out in order to escape.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice? So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself? To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the 2 doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
It's not all that dark, is it? I mean, this is quite warm. Clean. Well, my goodness, I'm glad as heck that you showed up. Thought I might be having to clean this entire house all by myself, and right miserable that would have been. Everyone knows lonesome hands make lousy homes.
You'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work, and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
And lousy homes make homeowners. Ha! Something tells me you're going to be fun to do this job with. Well, this place isn't going to clean itself as far as I know. I'll finish up here in the meantime. Could you please clear the table? Finish up doing what? Alright, clear the table. There we go. That was easy. Much nicer. That's the table I want to see. And would you please run into the bedroom and make the bed? Alright, I can do that. There's the bedroom. Oh, what a mess. Look at this. Look at this. Oh. Much nicer. Would you, while you're at it, why don't you straight out the rug a bit? Okay. All little details matter. Well... Well, it's not been a long time since I've seen a house this messy, holy crap. That would be a lie. How'd you end up doing this job? Fred dragged me along at a time when I was particularly desperate for cash. Turns out I've never felt so good doing something for money in my whole life. Never did like cleaning my own home. I might have got some demons I ain't ready to face yet. So, speaking of demons, someone's put this couch all in a mess. Would you come straighten out these pillows here? I can do that. Well, I mean, that's a pretty normal couch. Oh dear, looks like someone spilled a drink over by the couch. Maybe mop that up as long as you're over there. Okay, alright, can do that. I feel compelled to share an incredible, cheesy personal insight. You okay with that? Yeah, make it especially cheesy, please. Come on, out with it. No? Oh, come on. No, it's stupid. Sorry, never mind. Hey, these dishes need to be washed. Why don't you come do that? Ah. What a cheesy story. Oh, jeez, that's a mess. Alright, there we go. Oh, so check the tub needed a cleaning. How about you scrub it down as best you can? This feels good. That was a mess. No need to be perfect. We're all just human. Still books scattered on the floor of the bedroom? If so, would you put them back on the shelf? Yeah, I can do that. That's really not that bad a bookshelf, I gotta say. Perfect. Now how about you come and clear these dishes up? Did I already do that?
After an intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing.
Pretty sure I already did that.
It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside.
Do these chores ever end?
And eventually cohere into something meaningful.
Whatever work you do, you've absolutely got to own it, otherwise it owns you. So why don't we be with the task at hand and leave the future chores to future you? Present you wants to smooth out the rug in the bedroom, believe it or not. Trust me on this one.
Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was, like, grossly happy all the time. Just walked around with a
tub again? Alright, we can do the tub. Fine. Yeah, you did say you had a cheesy thought. What do you got? It's going to say it occurs to me that one's house is a lot like one's soul. You take care of it, and it takes care of you. Ha. Don't know why I felt so weird about saying that. Yeah, that's a weird thing to say to someone you just met. Anyway, so, housekeeping. Let's keep doing this. Books, would you please clean up the books? Thanks. Is there some kind of gremlin running around here just messing things up as I do it? Because it seems like I've already done this before. Oh goodness, those pillows over on the couch are real mess. We gotta straighten them up a bit. Can't have these folks coming over home to a messy couch. Is this peace though? Is this finding peace? I'm not convinced. Question.
But
do you enjoy this?
It can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
But that's not a dark space, is it, Davey? I mean, there's definitely something morbid about it. But... We can have the puzzle again here, or are we just gonna walk straight out? And we're moving towards something very cold, aren't we? Alright, there's our lamppost. Oh good.
Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it. This one gets a bit goofy.
Why did you come here today? Was it to improve your life? Alright, we're in a lecture theater. This looks very familiar. Was it to get a better job? Was it to make your relationships more meaningful? No. No. You came here to be perfect. This workshop... Oh, I'm somewhere else now. This workshop is going to teach you how to be perfect. I want your friends, the people in your life, to look at you and think, wow, This person is a better human being than I am. Right now, who do you think about that way in your own life? Who do you know who is so well developed as a person that they make you feel disgusted with yourself, compared to whom you feel useless, selfish, ungrateful? I intend to make you into that person. Perfection is within your grasp. And the question is not how do we do it, but how do we do it effortlessly? This is easy. It is so easy. It is so easy.
Halfway through the game,
being perfect is effortless. Oh! Oh my god. Now, yeah, I've already seen this, but this, I've got to say, for me, is so fucking disquieting.
You discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are.
Ooh.
Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
On the way to work, I told an elderly person to start contributing to society. Being alone must be awful. I'm all talk and that thing's all listen. Can I walk up to this eye? Nope, I'm stuck down here. Alright. Thank goodness. All of you perceive me as being wise and intelligent. Yep. Do you understand that you won't be happy until you love me? This is for you. Anyone want to do some ecstasy after this? Do what is easiest, do what is simplest, feel what is true. I think the yellow ones are the ones I'm supposed to say. Nothing. No one.
I felt pretty hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have.
Perfection.
To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days. This one took a lot longer than all the others.
Same photo.
It was 4 months between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this, and it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Alright. Oh. Alright, the performance is beginning. Places, please. What do I do? Do I dance? In this scene, you will be playing as me. We are at a gathering of professionals. First, you'll start out leaning against this wall. I can do that. Good. Stay right there. The woman across the room in this chair is a professional photographer of animals. It is your dream to photograph animals professionally. This is your one chance to learn something from her, to gain something, to succeed. Go on, say something to her. Wow, neither of those are... Alright, start with hello. Hello. Hello, that's it? That's not a conversation. You actually need to converse with her. Be a human being. Do it again. I like you. No, that's not what I said to her at all. You're completely missing the tone of this conversation. I was reserved, but I knew what I wanted. I was confident. For some reason, it was just that one moment, but I was confident. Maybe it's that you need a better feel of the setting. There are a lot of other people around us. I'll give you some props to work with. These cones that bounce when you touch them will represent the people nearby. I mean, you could have just put people here, so I bounce off them. Alright, now what happens if I... Can I get myself stuck here? Boing, boing, boing. You must have worked really hard to get where you are. You're messing it all up again. You'll freak her out if the conversation gets that personal that quickly. Do you not realize how important this was for me? I'll never get another opportunity like this again. Everything was riding on this. Oh dear. You want to try something? Well, I saw happy and focused there. That was all I really saw, wasn't it? Hmm. Oh. Oh, okay. Okay, yes, now this is working.
The game ends with this
is what I was like.
Of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having
wonderful.
to
This is really
perform
wonderful.
and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this game. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
Mobius trip. To play this game properly, you must keep your eyes closed. Click to begin the game. Alright, okay. What's going on? Captain, what can we do? Help! I'm blind! I can't die like this, I can't die like this. Then my vision suddenly went black. There was this giant door and then my vision went black. Please someone talk to me. Please tell me how to solve this. Please don't let this be forever. Red alert! Oh! What's going on? Yeah, what is going on? What's going on?
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
Please tell me how to solve this. Alright, can we go up? Yes, we can go up. Of course it's by the lamppost. The only way to stop it is to speak something that is honest. I can't keep making these. Yes, that's it. That's the truth.
Like I said, I was getting
it's draining me.
First off, he's never been
keep
this
going,
explicit
keep talking.
in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas,
it was going to be easy.
He literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing.
I'm alone.
Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way.
His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
What is this? Where did this island come from? Is that a person? How lovely! It's been a long time since I talked to anyone. What's wrong? You look lost. When I try to create, I feel empty. Oh no. What's happened? Did something change? There was a machine that kept me going and it stopped. You think you know where it is? It isn't far? Alright. Well. I need to see it to know why it stopped. Behind me just disappeared. It's guarded by a difficult puzzle. If you can help me solve the puzzle, we'll find the machine.
About his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for?
You'll show me? Alright. I wonder what this puzzle's gonna be, guys.
Because from my perspective at the time, and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was.
Oh, here it is.
He was
what do you
in his
think?
own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone.
This is easy.
Not releasing them onto the internet. And so
wonderful.
He didn't
Tell me how to do
have
it.
anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself
First you have to open the door. And now you have to close the first door. Why is the smoke white now? Now just press the switch here. Ha! That was so simple.
You can't talk yourself.
Can't believe
out
I
of
never solved it
loneliness.
before.
It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
When I try to create, I feel empty. What is this still? There was a machine that kept me going. Where did this island come from? I need to know why it stopped. And it stopped. Okay, here we are. These are just words on some walls. Trust me, you'll see. You have to say that your work is fun and easy. You have to say that game development is simple and joyous and that you love it 100% of the time. Alright, making games is effortless. Why did I feel so awful when I said that? Don't worry about it, just keep talking. Keep saying that creation is easy. It is easy and it never stops being easy. Yes, that's wonderful. Keep going.
Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped.
Every time I make something, I feel better about myself.
Video games are not worth this amount of suffering.
Perfect, that feels fantastic.
This is someone I really cared about. And I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create.
I'm going to vomit.
For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me.
Please continue. It always pays off eventually. Yes, more, keep going.
This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to
I will be
stop
saved by
more
my
than
work.
anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop.
And we're back into the prison.
But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
I know I can't be the only one that finds this upsetting. I really hope you guys are seeing something in this. Okay. We know how to do this. Hello, guard. Ma'am, glad to see you've arrived safely. You've captured the machine. It's waiting for you now. You can begin the interrogation whenever you like. I intend to be brutal. Very good. Just be warned that someone called the press. We might have a bit of attention on this one. Also, one more thing that you should know about this machine. Calls itself Coda. Oh dear. This is it?
And of course, it's the machine.
You stopped. It's very panopticon feel, isn't it? You stopped feeding us. It was only because of your creations that any of us could make it through every day. I've been so alone. Apologize for leaving me. I've seen the thing you fear. Alright, then I'll apologize to the people on your behalf. My friends, I have a troubling revelation. The machine will not apologize to us. We'll find a way to live without it. We do not need its games. Let us show it that we are not failures. I didn't like either of those answers. Coda will make sure you're known forever. Isn't that what you're scared of? Exposed to the view of others every day forever, seen in naked clarity?
I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work?
This is the room with all the game ideas, which there are now none.
So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
down your weapon. Okay, I can't move, I can't do anything. I can only shoot it. Alright.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy, so beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
This looks familiar.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the level, so when you're ready to continue, press the Use key on your gamepad, and I'll put a bridge over the maze. And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
This is very Orwellian, isn't it, this one?
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
1, 5. Damn it, I missed it. I have to go all the way around again? Alright. 6, 1, 7. So there are two feelings that I get from this level so far. One is a very sort of vague Orwellian feeling, and the other, something that I'll probably talk about in my reflections video, is a German concept called Verdunsteffekt. And hopefully you'll see what I mean when I talk about that.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years, I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
That's the first color we've seen in a long time.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed. Where did I screw up?
Dear Davey, thank you for your interest in my games. I need to ask you not to speak to me anymore.
Stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
You've so infected my personal space that it's possible I did to begin to plant solutions in my work somewhere hidden between games.
They treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, it was... I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
Would you stop changing my games? Stop adding lampposts to them.
And then you stopped. And I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing.
When I'm around you, I feel physically ill. You desperately need something and I cannot give it to you. I literally do not have it. Struggling to come up with new ideas is not making me depressed. Low points are just a part of the process. The fact that you think I'm frustrated or broken says more about you than it does about me. I realize that this doesn't make sense to you just yet. Which is fine, you're not my problem to solve. And I do hope that one day it clicks and that you make peace with this thing that you were wrestling.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
When you finally see what I'm talking about, don't say anything. Isn't it a switch?
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work. Is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
Clock with no hands. Yeah, this is a waiting place if there ever was one.
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease.
Platforms with no names.
Solution. I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons. Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you.
If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like. What now?
This is presumably Davey's work that we're walking through here, not Coda's.
I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
And then this sort of looks like dust, only with all the sort of character drained out of it. I suppose. Well, I suppose that's the whisper machine, isn't it? But, what are we sacrificing ourselves for now? Are we gonna float, or are we gonna... We'll see. Well, it's a little vision of analysis in itself, isn't it? You think you can look through the walls and see what's happening behind. You're never really going to capture, even a fraction of it, aren't you? Well, anyway, look, I was, first of all, thank you very much for joining me on that, for being patient. I hope you see what I see in that experience. I hope you can see why I feel like it's something you really need to do in one sitting. To be honest, I was planning on immediately after this just recording, I guess, a ramble, my own thoughts and reflections in response to it. But there's so much happening here, and I feel like it's already presumptuous and vain and a little bit arrogant to think that anyone would care all that much about my response to this. So if I am going to put my response to it out there, I think maybe I should do it a little more thoroughly, a little more properly. So I think I will write something rather than just rambling verbatim. And I'll try to get that out in the next couple of days. But that's the beginner's guide. If you have any thoughts on it, feel free to leave a comment, send me an email, something like that. Like I say, I'm going to open this discussion in a couple of days. There's so much to talk about here, about Coda's experience, about Davey's experience, about the work itself and what it says about creation and analysis in equal measure, and both creative and analytic anxiety, which is something that that I think most of us experience personally at some time, or quite possibly most of the time. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to ramble about my thoughts, and then I started rambling about my thoughts. All right, look, thanks everyone so much for watching. I'll try to get out something on this as soon as I can, but I really hope that you enjoyed taking this little journey with me. And like I say, I think it would be really great if, whether or not you intend to play through this yourself, that you go to Steam, and like I say, it's about $5. I think it's a project worth investing in. I'm not really sure why I think it's worth investing in, but I like to see games like this, more thought-provoking games. I think it's something worth supporting. It's the kind of project that I definitely can get behind, just for the sake of what it's doing on a broader sense, rather than how it's doing it or what particular message it's conveying. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.